So welcome to Wani and Metal Nation Radio. With us today, we have the guitar maestro Steve Smyth. How are you doing, sir?
Smyth, actually. Yeah, good. How are you doing?
Wow, I'm doing really good. So till now, I was under the impression that it's Smith, so it's Smyth, right?
Yeah. No, it happens. It does. Yeah,
All
it,
right,
it is
cool.
actually Smyth. I'm one of the, I guess, one of the few people that uh it's like usually over here in England
Can
it's
you hear me?
spelled with an E on the end to differentiate it. But yeah, it's easily done, man. Yes, can you hear me?
Yep,
Hello.
all good, all good. So the
Okay.
Final Cull is just few weeks away. So how excited is the band? Keeping in mind that it's just been like a year and a half since your previous album?
Yeah, it has. We are very excited. We're working on a lot of things for it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And have been pretty much hard at work. We just got done tracking a video actually this weekend, and we've done a few other things, a few other surprises along the way, and just really getting everything fired up to get the word out as much as we can. Very very happy with this record. It's the right lineup. The right time, everything about it just felt right to be able to get it out, and the music came very easily.
Fantastic. Now, I have to say that while listening to it, I could clearly imagine the destruction. It's got that merciless, aggressive kind of mark which you have put across, and that sort of a vibe coming from the modern society in terms of how things have been. So I'm sure for you that would have been an intention to write an album which covers the spectrum yet sends a message.
Exactly, and that message is, basically just kind of a warning to remain awake, because these things to us, look very real,
Right.
even though we're presenting it in a story fashion. You just had a case today where you've had two major stock markets between the two world economic powers that
Right.
currently are fall massively today. And they're saying that one didn't trigger the other. I find that hard to believe, that it's not all a unified effort myself. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of where we took the story from. We're just trying to show in this one the value of human life, as
Right.
opposed to the last one, the state of humanity was the distortion of lies and the overdriven truth. So this one kind of takes hold in a few stories within kind of a giant plot that we
Right.
have, and it's rather a scary time, I think. I mean, it's a fascinating, brave new world, but at the same point, this technology, there's people out there warning, that this could be used against us within a matter of a century or less.
Yeah, what was
Uh,
a boon and a bane, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's the good and the bad for it. There's medical technological advances which are great. Obviously, things able to do surgery and whatnot. But if you look at the other side of that, it's like, wow, well, if this thing learns what makes us tick, then could it also be used to turn it against us?
Right.
You had Stephen Hawking, Professor Hawking over here, actually issuing. I think this is the second time he's actually said the same statement within about, I'd say, a year and a half, saying that if we don't keep a handle on who's developing AI technology, it could wipe out humanity or
Humanity.
advance past humanity within the next 100 years or less.
Wow,
And
it's
that,
getting really
that
crazy.
scares me.
That's right. So fans have got a taste of the new self-titled track. For you, I mean, it's very important to know the response. So how's it been so far?
So far, so good. Everyone that's heard it has just been blown away. They didn't expect, after the lineup changes that we had, they didn't
Right.
expect us to come back in this way. I guess, and in this way, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's just been overwhelmingly positive with our fan base, and getting new fans on board as well, which is great. We did a lyric video for
Yeah,
that title track
I saw
with
that.
a guy named Tommy Antonini, and he does great work. I really wanted to work with this guy for a while, and we finally got him free to be able to do it, and he was able to put visuals the way that we wanted to get that story told,
That's
without
awesome.
it being too crazy. So yeah, we're really really happy with it.
Sounds
Definitely.
good. So I was just trying to figure out what made you guys trigger to write an album just like 2014 was Distortion of Lies and the Overdriven Truth, and now we have the Final Cull. Excitement coming out of you to write more riffs and probably release more material to your fans?
Yeah, for myself personally, I mean, this is the band I've always wanted to have, and I've been a part of some great bands out there in both present tense and past tense as
Mhm.
well. For those that didn't carry on, but in the back of my mind, it's always been a thing that I wanted to get back to doing. I mean, when I was a kid, I had my own bands,
Right.
and they had some regional success, et cetera, attracted some label interest, blah blah blah. But this is kind of a different thing. It's like I've done the sideman session thing for quite a while,
Right.
and just wanted to step out on my own and try and make this happen. I found the right team, I believe, to make that happen. And for me, they're all very creative individuals as
Mhm.
well. So it adds highly to that mix. Our new singer Chris, basically, I gave him a concept and an idea about where I wanted to go
Right.
with this record, and he took off with it and made this whole story about it within the lyrics that still are transparent enough to apply into present day events, everyday life. So it's not necessarily just a story, but there are transparencies and reflections back to what's happening now.
Right.
That was awesome. Jamie Hunt, the other guitarist, used to be in a band called Biomechanical,
Mhm.
and he wrote some pretty heavy, crazy stuff there. And again, he's shown through in some great riff writing across this record, as well as the song "Born from This Hate." And just yeah, very instrumental in finding Chris for us as well too. He knew that he was singing. He had taught him guitar actually, and had known that Chris had switched over to singing. So that kind of just chance happening turned into our new singer for
That's
for the
awesome.
last year and a half. Yeah,
I have
it's
to say
crazy.
that you guys have found a gem in Chris. I mean, he is definitely got a bright future in terms of how his voice attacks the material and at the same time leaves a room for grace. Now, that's something not very, few vocalists get to do that, and Chris has that skill. So, I mean, what can I say? He just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I mean, we saw a lot of potential there, and we just have been kind of working with him on a few things here and there. He's not terribly experienced at a few things, but he's grown a lot
Right.
in the last year and a half. He does have another band called Endeavor, but they've done a little bit here, a little bit there. But this is like a big thing to him, and he takes it very very seriously. And he's really grown with One Machine, I believe.
Awesome. Now, coming back to the album, has more like a live, organic vibe, and I'm sure that was the intention because I come across many albums where the production is crystal clear and most of it sounds overproduced. Where I feel like okay, the band is looking for more perfection, which actually ruins the taste for me as a music fan. So for you, being a musician, you've seen it all. So what made you choose the raw feeling coming out of the Final Call?
The main thing about that is the people. If you have the people with you, the other musicians in this band are to my mind, it was just the perfect fit. It was
Mhm.
we all gelled playing together, and it just felt right. I'm like, you know what? I think we can actually do it with these guys. So let's give it a shot. And we worked on a handful of these songs in the demo stages with Chris, and then
Mhm.
brought them to the band. So the band kind of got a chance to listen a little bit. But largely, what we did was get in a room and jam it out for a couple weeks beforehand. We did about 2 weeks of pre-production
Mhm.
before heading up to track, and then we only had 10 days to track the
Mhm.
record due to budget constraints and whatnot, and it really put a bit of pressure on the guys as well. But they, in my opinion, I think it made them also kind of sharpen a little bit and play even tighter. We learned to read each other quite a bit more.
That's awesome. And you and Hunt, I mean, you guys, I mean, not only come up with the encouraging solos, I mean, the harmonics coming out of you is like bliss, like coming out of it, that emotion coming from a true heart and riffs being like quite diverse. How do you guys plan out your parts? I mean, it's very important for you to, basically explore the musical spectrum and then again, not sound too, I mean, over the board. So coming back to the groove, how important was it for you and Hunt to basically maintain that balance?
It's something that we it's for one thing, I think it's born out of our influences, definitely, and Jamie and I share a lot of the old classic metal influences. He's a bit younger than I am, so some of the bands that he's kind of grown up and looked up to are bands that I might consider some of them peers, friends as well, things like that. So it's a bit of a line cross if I actually go over there and kind of look to those as anything probably other than inspiration. I mean, of course they're inspirational, definitely. So in that respect, we kind of get a bit of modern, a bit of classic, and I think that's where the lead playing kind of comes together. And in terms of what we do as far as harmonizing, just really kind of paying attention to that in not necessarily talking about it, but just jamming it, and it just kind of comes about that way. That's how we end up. Yeah.
Maybe that's another reason.
I was thinking I had something else that I was going to add.
There's another reason why it's more melodic, because you guys get to explore sitting in a room and you have your instruments with you, and then you guys jam these songs. It's always like when you're trying out something else comes up. So maybe that might be one more reason why the Final Cull has more melodic vibe as compared to the previous album.
Yeah, I think so. I would definitely agree with that, because it's just the magic of creating something together. We've got one thing that we're doing. Mm-hmm. We're looking at it everyone's internally thinking about it and jamming it, and then we see where it goes. We see how that can grow together as we play it.
Right, that's really cool. Now, Steve, I always wondered, I mean, you were part of Nevermore, and my favorite album, this Godless Endeavor. I always wanted to know, what songs did you actually write on that album, and how was it collaborating with Jeff?
Right. Actually, the songs I wrote were A Future Uncertain, Sell My Heart for Stones, and Bittersweet Feast. I think they were the even numbered tracks on the record from memory. Yeah, those were the ones. And then we basically all had kind of a hand in the arrangement as we went along. And that was one of those things with getting together with those guys. It wasn't necessarily a record that we tracked live, but we certainly wrote it in that fashion. I mean, Jeff had some demos for songs. Mm-hmm. The guys asked me to submit some songs for consideration. I ended up writing about 6 or 7 songs for that record. Wow. Out of which 3 of those made it in, because Jeff already had a ton of great stuff. So we got in the room, we jammed, and again, it's eye contact, it's reading each other. A lot of touring, I think, really helped that as well, because I did touring with those guys on the Enemies record for the whole duration of that cycle. So it's one of those things where you just get in a room, you read each other, and you learn from it. You record every session that you do, and then just keep going with it.
Awesome, man. And what about the rest of the 3 tracks which didn't made? Will it ever be released?
I have no idea what's going to happen with those.
Demos with you?
They're kicking around somewhere. Yeah, definitely.
And you gotta release that, man, because now 3 tracks which you mentioned definitely are one of the highlights. And I also love the title track. And obviously, if you guys you probably could have done a B-side of this Final Cull and released it. That's an idea.
Right.
Cool. Now, and we all know that the Nevermore is no more. So if it ever resurrects and they ask you to join, would you be, willing to be part of this band? I mean, this historic band, at least for me.
Right now, I'm really, really focused on One Machine and pushing this band forward as much as possible. I'm not so sure that reunion would happen anytime soon, to be honest. I'm in touch with all those guys, and in one shape, form, or another. We definitely talk to each other at least a handful of times a year, just on a personal level, even. It's one of those things,
So you're basically making me wait.
I would say, probably no comment at this point, although it would be a very tempting offer, I'm sure.
Right. I was actually having a chat with Jeff, I think last week when he was on tour with Arch Enemy. They're playing the Summer Slaughter Festival right now. So I asked him the same question, will he ever think of coming back to Nevermore? And he gave me a straightforward answer, a big no on my face. So that was insane. And at the same time, the next person I could visualize was you and Chris Broderick. And I asked the same question to Chris, and Chris said no. And now I asked the same question to you. You're telling me no. So three guitarists saying no. I'm heartbroken, to be honest.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just really really happy where I am right now.
Right.
So for that kind of thing to happen, I think those guys really would have to work out a number of their issues to do it. To be honest, and I would want nothing but for them to want to do it for anything like that to happen.
True.
Shouldn't happen any other way, really.
Right, I understand that. So what are the plans of taking this album live? I mean, you do some touring and this material is meant to be played. So any such plans, because you have this crowdfunding thing still going on for the next 23 days. So whatever is the plan with that, is it ever going to be played live?
Yes, absolutely. We have a number of UK dates already confirmed that go across basically from September. September 18th is our album release, but also our album release show, and we're playing here in London at a club called the Camden Barfly. So that's going to be a cool one. We're going to debut the songs live for the very first time there. So anyone out there listening, then get on over. Let's see you there. But other than that, we've got a string of UK dates lined up that go from September onwards to the end of the year. We're also working on some European shows, and we've been talking with various promoters about trying to get over to North America as well too, because it's kind of a thing that we wanted to do on the last record, but every time we had it in the planning stages, it fell through. Right. So hopefully this time we'll have to see what happens.
Wow, that'll really be great. And I'm sitting here in India waiting for you guys to come. Nevermore never came here. Megadeth came here.
Right.
I was lucky enough to see Chris Broderick, and now you. I don't know. Maybe down the line you guys get a good offer here and come over and play for your fans.
I'll tell you what, we've actually had an offer so far. So if it actually comes back as positive, then yes, we would love to get to India.
When did that happen?
Just about a few weeks ago, actually.
Awesome. So is it like planned for any month? Because
no, this was just talked about in terms of getting over for a handful of dates. And there was a festival involved, and I can't remember what the name of the festival was, but it was
Weekender, Bangalore Open Air.
It might have been the first one that you mentioned, I think, actually. Yeah.
Neat. So then I assume it might be in the month of October or November, preferably, because it just happens within that time frame.
Right. Yeah, and I think this is for definitely for 2016 is what they're predicting.
I'll sit here and wait. That's all I can do, right?
Awesome. Well, we're trying, man. We are definitely trying.
Awesome. Now, before I conclude, how about you define the Final Cull in just one sentence?
Ooh. A dark path that we might take in the near future if we don't wake up.
Wow, that's really amazing. Looking at the cover art, listening to the music, reading the lyrics, and now you basically summing up in just one sentence is amazing. Folks, the new album is coming out August 18th. Pre-order it, do whatever the hell you want. Just have the copy and support the band. Thank you very much once again, Steve. Had an honor having a chat with you. I'll wait for you guys to come over in India, and that'll be like a great epic evening for sure.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate it so much.